Have you heard about GDPR? It's one of the biggest things to hit data protection ever, right? It's huge, right? Today we're going to talk about GDPR. It only affects the European Union right now, but it's going to be coming over to the United States soon. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know because your business might actually be more international than you even know. And you've got to protect your data and make sure that you're protecting consumer rights. Hi, I'm John Lincoln with Ignite Visibility, and today we're talking about GDPR, which impacts your business. Okay, so GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. And what this is a new level of data protection for the European Union. It has not impacted the United States yet, but you can bet that it will in the future on some level. Of course, we've always have different regulations here in the US, but the thing about websites is you can have traffic coming in from all over the place and you don't even know, and be collecting information from those different areas and not maybe necessarily being aware of it, collecting emails from those areas. And if you have any presence in a European country, this impacts you. So this is something that every single business needs to be thinking about and trying to get ahead of, especially if you're marketing outside the United States. Okay, so under GDPR, businesses cannot process data unless it's lawful and purposeful. So what constitutes a lawful processing of data? 1, that person has engaged in a lawful contract with a company. If they're doing that, you're in good shape. 2, the data processing is necessary to fulfill a legal obligation. 3, the data processing is necessary to protect someone else's information. 4, the data processing is necessary to carry out a task that is important to the public's interest. 5, the data processing is necessary to pursue legitimate interests from a controller or a third party. So now that you understand that, you can see that this whole GDPR thing, it's created to protect consumers and not businesses. It makes it a lot harder for businesses, really. And it's a step back in digital marketing on the European side. But I always say that it's a step back, but think about it as an opportunity, right? You can get ahead of it first, that you are going to put yourself out there in the market much quicker and be able to grow your reach. Everybody has to go through it, and whoever kind of figures it out the quickest is going to be in the best shape. Okay, so now that I covered that, let's go through a couple more things. Okay, so the biggest thing is opt-in is now mandatory. So you really need to understand that. So no matter what type of digital marketing you're doing, opt-in is mandatory, and for each channel, whether it be email, paid media, etc., you've got to make sure that you have that opt-in and that's done correctly in order to really do marketing to these people legally. One of the biggest things is you can only use cookies now with consent. So you can't just cookie somebody and then do all this marketing to them and use that data in all these different ways. There has to be consent from the user now. Basically, you have to tell the person when they arrive at your site that this website uses cookies and this is what we use it for, and do you accept in order to use cookies? And that really makes a lot of sense, right? Because really a cookie in somebody's browser is basically the same as something like capturing an email address or getting them to follow you on social media in some ways. You're really putting information into a system that they use. And so this in a way does make some sense. One of the biggest things is full disclosure. So you can't just, I use cookies, right? I'm capturing your email to use for, what are the main things you're gonna use it for? You have to spell it out, and that's part of the legal obligation. And there's this new thing, it's called the right to be forgotten. So at any point in time, one of these consumers who's been to your website has to have a way so that they can be forgotten, meaning that they're not in your system anymore. So if it's a cookie, they got to be able to have you remove that cookie from your database, which totally makes sense. But if it's an email, remove that. They have a right to be forgotten from your system. They also need to be able to go in and modify their information at any point in time. So if you have a personal profile about somebody, this is one set of data that say it's surrounding me, John Lincoln, and it's all the data on me. I need to be able to go in and I need to be able to change that data set that you have around me and get rid of certain information It doesn't mean that I need to be able to log in and do that, but I at least need to be able to contact somebody. I think they're going to prefer that there's a login, and it's something that I personally or you personally could go in and deal with though. Next thing, if you have a data breach or if somebody gathers information from your site, they hack your site, they hack your database, they get a bunch of personal information, you have to fess up, and you have to fess up quick. GDPR requires that you have to alert the commissioner's office within 72 hours if you have a data breach so that they know what's going on. Now there's this kind of weird element of GDPR where you can process somebody's data if there's quote unquote a legitimate interest. So we're a little bit unclear on what a legitimate interest is. If there's a real reason for the business to be doing it that's outside of marketing purposes that really helps the consumer, that would be one way to interpret that, but I am not a lawyer, so I suggest that you talk to yours. So this has really kind of sparked a new industry, and a lot of people are talking about DPOs now, or data protection officers or data protection roles, where these people, they basically just monitor this element of the business. I know it's something that's going to be coming up a lot with clients that we speak with. It's important. So consider, is your business big enough that you need a data protection officer? And if it is, if you're over a $20 million company, $10 million, $20 million company, you're probably going to need that on some element, whether or not you have a consultant, whether or not you're taking advice from somebody like us who has a pretty good handle on it while also working with a lawyer, or whether or not you're training your internal lawyer, or you've got somebody who you're bringing in-house to actually be just full-on data protection. It's something you're going to want to think about, especially if you're super heavy in the European market. Okay, so after you have all this stuff in place, you still need to keep your customers informed. So if any point in time you have a change to some of these policies or some of the ways that you're interacting with this data, you need to make sure you're messaging that to your customers and letting them know. That's another important element. Okay, so that's it for the general data protection regulation for today. If you want to learn more about it, check out the blog post on our website, ignitevisibility.com. It covers everything really in depth, and I'll make sure to place a link to it inside of the video description here so that you can click on it, you can check it out, and you can learn more. That's it for this Ignite Visibility University. Hope you have a great day and good luck with your data protection. Have a good one.